Hi yogis, welcome to another yoga video. Today we're going to do a quick sequence that was originally designed for teachers who are stuck in their desks all day or kind of limited in their exercise because they're in the classroom and they're teaching. But some exercises to get out some of the kinks and work some of the areas that are maybe aggravated when you're sitting behind a desk chair or perhaps when you're limited in what you can do throughout the day. However, now that we're all kind of stuck at home, and those of us that are working from home may be stuck behind a computer chair, and especially those of us that are doing NTI work and homework and stuff may kind of feel stifled and like you can't get out. This is a nice little sequence just to break up the day. We do have a chair here. I'll show you a few poses that can either be done on the floor or in the chair. Everything was designed to be done in the chair so that teachers could do it without getting on their nasty school floors. But again, you can do whatever works for you. So as always with any of my videos, if you find something that you don't like or that's uncomfortable, just leave it, don't do it. That's the main rule in yoga. If it hurts, don't do it. So we're gonna start out here, either on the floor, on your mat, or in a comfortable chair. And we're just gonna start to get some breath awareness, calm down the mind and the body, and just slow things down before we get started. Just find a comfortable seat here. Move around a little until you find that sweet spot. And really feel your sits bones kind of sink down into the ground, lengthening up through your tailbone. Nice straight posture. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes here. And we'll have just a few breaths, deep breaths. Feeling the chest and the stomach move with our breath. Whenever your body feels ready, you can start to drift those eyes back open, slowly taking in the room around you, adjusting to the light or any noise that you may experience. And as we continue through this practice, just try to keep your awareness on your breath and on your body and what's happening right here on the mat. I know that can sometimes be hard, especially if you have siblings or spouses or anyone else at home that may be distracting you, or perhaps noises happening in the house around you. It's a lot easier to get to a yoga studio and have that nice quiet space where you can practice. But since we don't have that right now, we just need to make the best of what we do have. And that is a nice safe space where we can practice in the comfort of our own home. So a lot of this work may be mental. It may be a lot less physical, blocking things out, but really just trying to keep your attention coming back to right here and right here and right here. So you can always try to bring that attention back in, and if you feel like you're failing at it, that's okay, because we're human and it's really hard for us to just bring our attention here to the breath, but all we can do is keep trying. So a lot of these poses, like I said, since they were aimed for teachers, are kind of meant to break up a lot of the tension in the neck, the wrists, in the ankles, and throughout the rest of the body that you may get from sitting at a desk all day. And these are exercises that can be done one by one. If you have a certain area that may be feeling a little uncomfortable, you can spend a bit more time on that, or you can do them as the whole pose sequence and do them all together. So our first exercise will be a little bit of neck tilting. So we're just going to take our neck and just bring our left ear or our right ear down toward that shoulder. And I have my left ear down, but since we're mirroring, we're going to take the opposite arm, so my right arm, and just drop it down toward the ground. And that'll help lengthen this side of the neck here. And just hold that for a few breaths, continuing to breathe throughout your practice. And now bringing that opposite arm back up to your knee, we'll slowly lift the head up toward the middle and then drop it down to the other side, bringing the opposite ear down to that shoulder and bringing this opposite arm to the floor. Again, we're lengthening through this side of the neck, stretching the muscles here. And here we're breathing, just continuing to breathe, continuing to bring that focus to the breath. And now we'll bring this arm back up to the knees and just shrug out your shoulders a little. Just loosen up through there. Now that you've stretched these muscles on the side of the neck, you may feel a little pulling or tightness, or things may feel nice and loose. And just bounce those shoulders. And then when you're ready, come back to stillness. Next, we're going to bring the chin toward the chest, tilting the head down. And now you'll feel that stretch in the back of the neck, along the top of the spine. And again, just continue to breathe while you hold this position. And whenever you're ready, just bringing your chin back up to level with the ground. And find a nice, calming, grounding breath there. Now we'll do some neck circles. Do these as small or as big as your body is comfortable. I would recommend starting small, and if your body feels like it can use a little more stretch, to maybe expand your circle a little bit more, but you don't need to throw your head around and hurt anything or kink anything. So just move very slowly. First we'll look up, and then just circle the head around. Just very slow and gentle movements. And the next time your head is up, you can change the direction of your circle. Still breathing with our movements. Moving very mindfully and carefully so that we don't kink our neck or cause any injury. But just finding small circles to bring a little more range of motion into those neck muscles and those shoulders. You can come back to stillness. Next, we'll do some seated cat-cows. So if you're familiar with yoga at all, you know that our cat motion is going to be a rounded back like an angry cat and dropping our head down towards the floor. And so we really have a rounded motion, and it may be hard to see on me, but we really have a rounded motion with the spine here. And then our cow does the opposite to the spine. It helps to stretch here. You'll be able to see a little better with my sweatshirt off. So our spine here is going to kind of curve in a little. So we have a curved motion and then the opposite curve. So you can do that with your breath. Just do a few cat-cows. And you may even try to play with your breath here. Maybe you'll exhale to get to a cat and then inhale to get to your cow. And then after you've done that for a few cycles, alternate the breathing and do the opposite. Maybe inhale into your cat and exhale into your cow. And just moving with the flow of your breath, not paying any attention to how fast I'm moving. Finding what's comfortable for you. And once you've done your cat-cows an even number of times, you can come back to stillness. Finding another calming, grounding breath here. Now our next pose will be a very gentle twist here in the midsection. Twists are great for digestion and for relieving stress and for really getting into a lot of the muscles and everything. A lot of our organs are housed here in the lower belly. And sometimes they may not feel like they have room to move. So it's really nice to kind of think about asking our body to help us into the twist and asking our organs to kind of move around a little so that we have the space to do so. I know it may seem a little silly, but it can help. So here we'll bring our hands to our chest, pressing our palms together. On our inhale, we'll lengthen up toward the sky, just making sure our back is nice and straight, that those sit bones are grounded into the ground. And with our exhale, we'll twist. You can twist toward the left or the right, but we're encouraging like a staircase, spiral staircase-like motion here. We're not cranking or pulling ourselves into the twist or anything like that, but we're just very gently twisting the upper half of the body toward the side. And continue to breathe here. On your inhales, you can think about lengthening. Make sure that you're lengthening that body. And on those exhales, think about twisting deeper into your twist, but only if it's comfortable for you today. Again, we never want to force the body into a twist or any pose that could cause injury. And after your next breath, you can untwist back to center. Inhaling again to lengthen and exhaling to twist the other direction. Continuing to breathe here. And untwisting back to center. You can lower your arms down and again, just kind of shake things out, roll those shoulders. I'm going to turn back to face you for our next pose. So now that we've twisted and lengthened in part of the body here, now we're going to think about lengthening through our side waist, which is also a really nice stretch. It kind of feels like a good morning stretch, like when you wake up and stretch toward the sky. What we're going to do is just take one arm. I'm going to start with my right. You're welcome to start with your left if you don't want to mirror me. And we're just going to inhale and reach up overhead, kind of toward the opposite side of the body here. And think about how long this side of the body is. This is where you should feel your stretch. And continue to breathe here. And then bring that back down. Now we'll do the same on the other side. So we'll inhale up and over, lengthening now through this side waist. Just feeling the stretch in here, letting those muscles have a little more room to move. And coming back down to center. Now either of these last two movements you could do dynamically, which means you move with them with the breath. If you wanted to do that with our twist, remember we're inhaling up, exhaling to twist, inhaling back to center, exhaling to twist. So if you like that movement, you could do that with your breath. Just exhaling back out to each side. And similarly with this movement that we just did, this lateral side stretch, we could also do that with our breath. So we could inhale up, exhale, bend, back down to center, and inhale up, exhale to bend. So either of those could be done with the flow of your breath on your own time. Next, we have a few wrist exercises. So this is especially great for those of you that may be on a computer to do NTI work or telecommuting, or that are maybe writing or doing anything else with your wrists. Wrist movement is always good. So we're going to start by bringing the palms together and press just slightly through the palms, pressing them into each other. Continue to breathe, and we'll keep pushing for a few seconds here. And then another nice stretch for our wrists is actually to turn our hands the opposite way, fingers down. Our palms are now facing away from the body, so the backs of the hands will touch. And just pressing very slightly here against the backs of the hands. Continuing to breathe and staying lengthened through that spine, imagining like the crown of your head is up toward the sky. And relaxing those arms, shaking those out if you want to. Next, we'll extend one hand long with the palm away from you, fingertips up toward the sky, and just very gently pulling back on those fingers. Notice we're not pulling a whole lot. Just very gently pulling back on those fingers to encourage a little more stretch through the wrist. And then flipping those fingertips down with the palm facing your body. And again, just pulling very slightly, pulling those fingertips toward the body. Breathing throughout. And once more, flipping that hand over. Fingertips are down and the palm is away from you. And just pulling gently on those fingertips. Shake that arm out, and we'll do the other side. Fingertips up, palm away from you, and pull back slightly. Fingertips down, palm facing you. And roll that wrist over. The palm is now away from you and the fingertips are down. And just encourage that stretch a little more. Breathing. And shake that arm out. We have one more wrist stretch before we move on to the ankles. So these you can make fists and just kind of start to move the fists. Let me show you from the side view here. Move the fists up and down. You're really bending here at the wrist. And again, only do this as much as is comfortable. And then you can start to roll the wrists in circles. Big circles or little circles are fine as long as you take slow circles and as long as you're mindful of how you're moving, thinking about not moving too far or too fast. And make sure to change direction of your circles so that you get a nice even stretch. And shake all that out. We're done with the upper body for right now. I'm going to move into the chair so I can show you some ankle stretches, but you could also do those here on the ground. If you wanted to do your ankle stretches here on the ground, just lengthen one of your legs long, and we can do all the ankle movements there. But just so everyone can see well and can see how to modify these for the chair, I'm going to move into the chair. So our first stretch here. And just to note, if you are in a chair, you may want to sit toward the front of the chair. If you lean back, you may start to kind of slouch or get some really bad posture. So try to stay toward the front of the chair where it's just barely supporting you here so that you can really stay lengthened and long through the body and keep really good posture throughout. So our first ankle stretch, we're going to start with our right ankle and we're just going to bend the foot up, bringing the toes kind of toward the body. Just hold that for a second. And then point the toes like you're in a ballet class. And here you're really having to engage the muscles here in the legs, in the foot and the ankle. This is a really good stretch. And once again, go to the heel, bringing those toes towards you. And ballerina, pointing those toes. Bring that foot down. Now we'll do the other foot. So we'll take the left heel toward the ground, flexing that foot. And point the toes. Once more, we're engaging all of these muscles. My leg is super tight. Just to really get a good firm foundation for that exercise. Back to the heel. And back to our point. Bring both feet down to neutral and just kind of bounce out those legs a little. Okay. Find your stillness once more whenever you're ready. Check in with your posture. Make sure you're lengthening up through the crown of the head. And maybe touch base again with your breathing. Check to see that you're breathing normally, that you're not straining for your breath. And try to bring that awareness inward to that breath to keep you focused. Our next stretch I'm going to stand up for. I would encourage you to do the same thing. If you need to stay seated or on the floor, you can do that as well. But we're just going to start to kind of roll the feet here. So we're going to roll up on our toes and then rock back on the heels. You can bring your hands to your hips for a little more stability. You can bring them out. But we're just rolling. We're rolling slowly so that we can be very conscious of our movement. And we might even find a drishti, which is a soft gaze in a direction in front of you so that you don't lose your balance like I did. Especially when you're watching me on screen, it may be hard to keep your balance. So finding that drishti is really helpful. And come back to stillness. Just bounce everything out. Our next pose here is going to be more of an activity than a pose. So you need to imagine yourself like you're hula hooping. So maybe widen those feet out. And just start to rotate the hips here. Hands can be on the hips, hands can be down. Just find that comfortable position for you. Think about drawing very large circles on the ground. Maybe slow down and deepen in your bends here if that's comfortable for you. And make sure you change directions, rotating your hips the other way. And find your stillness. Next, we'll do a little bit of a tree pose, and this can be your tree. Make it however you like it to be. So bring your feet just slightly apart and parallel. Sometimes if you're on carpet, it helps to find a place off your mat where you may be a little more stable. And your tree may be a low tree, or it may be a high tree, and it's completely up to you. But what we'll do is we'll start by really grounding through the feet. Think about maybe pushing through all the corners of the feet like you're standing on a beach and sinking into the sand. Ground through those and lengthen through the body. Make sure we're standing up nice and straight, nice and tall. We're going to shift the weight into the right foot, but really we're not moving our hips or cranking our body in any way. We're just kind of shifting that weight. Maybe the toes are holding most of your weight of this leg and the heels off the ground. And whenever you feel stable in this grounded leg, we'll just move the heel toward the foot here. And this could be your tree today. This is a great tree. It's a nice grounded tree. Or maybe this is your tree. And again, we're finding that drishti somewhere on the ground so that we're not losing our balance and having our distractions maybe bring us to the ground here. And we're not putting any pressure on our knee. So if you'd like to grow your tree further, make sure you go above the knee. And we're still trying to stay pretty level in the hips here. And you're welcome to grow your branches. And they can be nice, sturdy, strong branches, or they can be like a thunderstorm, wind, whatever you like. And if at any time you need to come out of your tree, feel free to do so. And if at any time you need to shrink your tree, also feel free to do so. And then with control, we'll come out of our tree, just lowering that foot down to the ground. Now you may feel some intense stretches going on in this leg while we're in our tree pose. It's a nice balancing pose, but it also helps us to engage some of these muscles. That's okay. So next we'll ground through the other foot. Mine is my left. We'll think about lengthening that body. We'll prepare to put our balance onto this foot. And then we'll find whatever level of tree. Nope, this leg is not going to be the same for me. So I'll find a lower tree. And again, we're finding that drishti to keep us balanced. And you may notice differences from side to side and from day to day. That's completely okay and very normal in yoga. And feel free to grow those branches if you want. Breathing throughout. And with control, we'll lower down. Okay, shake out the whole body now. Get rid of any tension we found there. Okay, we're going to do a few breaths and some arm movement with those breaths before we go into our child's pose. So bring our feet back to parallel. Make sure we're lengthening through that body, standing nice and tall and firm like a mountain. And we'll breathe in and bring our arms up and overhead. And we'll exhale them back down towards our sides. Again, breathing in and out. Do that with your own breath for a few more breaths. And after this exhale, just stay here in our neutral mountain pose. Bounce out any of that excess energy if you have any. And now we're going to do our final pose, which is our child's pose. It's a nice pose for in between a flow when you might be feeling tired or might need a little restoration or some energy. It's also nice for your shavasana. If you don't want to do a traditional laid out on the floor shavasana, it's a really nice pose to help you relax. It's a pose that we use in restorative yoga with props. So there are tons of different ways to do child's pose, and there are tons of benefits of doing child's pose. It can help with headaches, it can help with sleep, it can help with stress and anxiety. So I recommend child's pose every day. So if you do have a mat, I'll show you how to do it on the floor. And then I'll also show you how to do an alternate method of child's pose in the chair. So that's especially nice for those of us that are still working and may not want to get down on the grimy work floor. So our child's pose, I like to do a wide leg child pose. So I'm going to put my heels kind of together and spread my knees apart. And then just kind of bend the hips back over the ankles here. And you can lower the head down toward the mat. So if your hips aren't quite as open, that's completely okay. Your child's pose may look a little more like this. If you're super flexy, you may come all the way down onto your feet. If this hurts the knees, you can always take blankets and put them under the knees. or you can stay a little more elevated and that doesn't put as much pressure on the knees. So once you get into that child's pose, we're going to find quite a few breaths there, so go ahead and get comfortable. If you would like to instead do the chair child's pose, I'm going to show you how to do that now. So we're still going to sit a little towards the front of the chair, not at the very back of the chair, but here we can have a little more security on the chair since we're going to be rounding the back forward anyway. And our feet are spread apart about the distance that we would be when we're in that mountain pose, that standing stable pose. And we're just going to slowly bend the torso down toward the knees. And here you could hug elbows and cradle here. You can let the arms fall down to the ground. We're letting the head hang here, so a lot of the tension that you may have in the neck or in the shoulders can kind of escape. So whichever child's pose you prefer, go ahead and find yourself in that pose and get as comfortable as you can. We're going to do a shortened Shavasana today, which is our final relaxation pose. A lot of times that's done lying flat on your back, but since we're trying to modify this for chairs and for maybe practices that don't allow us to get down on the mat, and since we're doing this also in kind of a shortened way where you can do each pose on its own, I'm going to do a shorter Shavasana for you. So our Shavasana pose is nice because it seals in our practice. So find that comfortable pose. And then start to draw that attention back to your breath, drowning out any external noise and blocking out any distractions that you may find, even internal chatter. Try to quiet the mind here and really focus on that breathing. You can count your breaths, or you can just watch internally as the body moves with each breath. Expanding with your inhale and collapsing with your exhale. And just keep your attention trained on the body here, on what's happening inside the body. And then think about the parts of the body that come into contact with the mat, letting go of any tension in those areas, asking the body to soften. And find one or two more full breaths here. And then whenever your body is ready, we'll very slowly move up to seated, helping the body out of the pose. Coming up slowly. And you can come to a seated position in your chair or on your mat. Let's bring the hands to the chest, palms facing one another. And let's inhale the arms overhead once more. Exhaling them back down to the chest. And one deep breath. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.